Nandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Radha Madhava Kungabiyadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kungabiyadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kungabiyadi Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravirajikacharya Astu Tarasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Sri Sri Kishore Kishore Ki Jai Sri Jagannath Sri Baladev Srimati Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai Sri Sri Gaurita Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees. All glories, Shri Sri Guru Garanga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Stambhaleshwar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Namaste. So nice when the sun comes in, the gold leaf on the Prabhu's Vyasa sun is effulgent, huh? Really bright. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Prabhu, can you take this? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 77, Lord Krishna slays Shalva. And I think what's on the border is 35, yeah? Does it start out Adhavata? Okay, great. And then there's 3 verses with no purport, and then it starts the next chapter, and it was a little unclear, the list I got of what verses, so I may just read these 3 and then just talk about it. Usually, if there's no purport, you don't give class. You go till there's a purport, but there's no purport for a while, so we'll just maybe read these verses. So, Adhavataha Sagadham Tasya Bahum Balena Chitva Atta Rata Angam Adbhutam Vadhaya Shalvasya Laya Arka Sanibam Bibrat Babho Sa Arkaha Iva Udaya Achalaha Adhavata Sagatam Tasya Bahom Balena Chidvata Tangam Adbhutam Vadhaya Shalvashalak Kasannibam Bibrad Babho Sharka Evo Tayachalaha Adhavatha Sagatam Tashabahum Balena Chitvata Ratangam Adhutam, excuse me, do that one again. Balena Chitvata Ratangam Adhutam Badhaya Shalvashala Yarkasanibam Bibrad Babho Sarka Evo Dayachalaha Adhavataha Sagatan Tashabahum Balena Chitvataratangam Adbhutam Vadhaya Shalvashala Yarkasanibam Bibrad Babho Sarka Evo Dayachalaha. Adhavata Sagatam Tashabahum Adhavata Sagatam Tashabahum Adhavata running toward him Sagatam carrying his club Tasya his Bahum arm Balena with a special kind of arrow Chitva severing Ata then Rata Angam his disc weapon Adbhutam wonderful Vadhaya for the killing Shalavasya of Shava Laya, at the time of universal annihilation. Arka, the sun. Sanibam, exactly resembling. Bibrat, holding. Babho, he shone. Saarkaha, together with the sun. Eva, as if. Udhaya, of the sunrise. Achalaha, the mountain. Translation. As Shava rushed at him, capital H, the Lord shot a bala dart and cut off his arm that held the club. Having finally decided to kill Shava, Krishna then raised his Sudarshan disc weapon, which resembled the sun at the time of universal annihilation. The brilliantly shining Lord appeared like the easternmost mountain bearing the rising sun. So poetic, huh? So please repeat. As Shava rushed at him, the Lord shot a bala dart and cut off his arm that held the club. Having finally decided to kill Shalva, Krishna then raised his Sudarshan disc weapon, which resembled the sun at the time of universal annihilation. The brilliantly shining Lord appeared like the easternmost mountain, bearing the rising sun. Just like sometimes here, it's pretty flat, but you've probably all been someplace where you see the sun come up over the mountains. So it's giving that analogy. Krishna's like the mountain holding the sun coming up. Sudarshan Chakra being like the sun. So there's no purport. I'll just read the Sanskrit. Chaharatenava shira sakundalam kirita yuktam pura mayino hari Vrajrena vritasya yata purandaro babhuva haheti vachastadandrinam. Translation. Employing his disc, Lord Hari removed that great magician's head with its earrings and crown, just as Purandara had used his thunderbolt to cut off Vitra's head. Seeing this, all of Shava's followers cried out, "Alas, alas." Text 37. Tasmin nipatite pape sobhe cha gonayahate nedur dun du bayo rajan divi deva ganeritaha sakinam apachitam koravan dantavakro rusabhyagat. With the sinful Shalva now dead and his Shobha airship destroyed, the heavens resounded with kettle drums played by groups of demigods. Then Dantavakra, wanting to avenge the death of his friends, furiously attacked the Lord. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 77th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Krishna Slays the Demon Shalva. So again, normally if there's no purport, we'd continue reading, but the message I got was a little unclear, so we're just going to stop there. And then tomorrow, can read the introduction to chapter 78, the killing of Dantavakra and Romaharshan. Text 1 and 2, and then there's a little purport there. And 3's got a longer purport. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padishtai Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashtatari Zatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So before we look at the verse section, I was kind of thinking, I know, like Bhakti Swami, after the annual meetings in India, and some things are going on. I know he does like a fancy PowerPoint and visits the different temples in his area and kind of explains what's going on in the world or what happened at the meetings, things like that. So this day and age with social media and all that, usually you hear about things before they happened. Not just after they happened, but usually before they happened. Somebody has some idea. And these days, of course, you hear a lot of misinformation as well. So I just thought maybe just kind of touch on a few things that I saw when I don't think I've been here since the Mayapur meetings. I was here not too long ago. But just touch on a couple things. So, and again, you probably all saw this, but just to remind you of some nice things, the Nrsingadev Temple of the TOVP, the Nrsinga wing was officially opened. They had some temporary deity of the Lord, which is not, they didn't move the full worshipable deity of Lord Nrsinga into the temple. But it's a beautifully amazing temple, very, very ornate, very opulent. And they had it all choreographed at a certain time. Ambarish Prabhu led a whole group of devotees in one set of wings, one set of doors, and from the side, other devotees came in from another side. So from all three sides, devotees came in. And then I don't recall if they must have opened a curtain, but there was so much smoke, you couldn't see anything. You know, sometimes we offer frankincense to the deities, and there's a lot of very auspicious smoke, and it looks really kind of mystical and like that. Sometimes in the old days, devotees would do plays, and they'd buy some dry ice, and they'd have dry ice making smoke across. So if you couldn't see. And then you start to see there's pujaris there, and they're fanning, so that's starting to clear the air, and then this deity of Lord Nrsingadev appears. It was really quite spectacular. And it gives you a sense of the impact of the Hare Krishna movement. We know this is going to be just a phenomenally large temple attracting millions and millions of people. And it was so beautiful and so profound. Of course, they're still working on the displays. There's some differences of opinion. How to display the universe. Naturally, you know the fifth canto, not so easy to understand. So there's some different schools of thoughts, but some very senior devotees and devotee scientists sorting all those things out. So that temple was open this year. It was very inspiring. Ambarish Prabhu and Swaha Devi were there, as we all know, the principal donors. In the GBC meetings, you might have heard, I wrote down 5, but I can only remember names. 4 GBC members resigned this year. Radhanath Swami, Niranjan Swami, Malati, who's resigning at the end of this year, which means probably Mayapur GBC year, like February-ish, and Giridhari Swami, who's based in Philadelphia. In fact, I think he actually just officially resigned now. But I'd written down that 5 people. I don't remember who the 5th one was. Maybe, of course, we know His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj left this world, so that's another gap in terms of the GBC. So there's a lot of energy. I can remember, probably we were in Dallas, some of those meetings 15 years ago. The GBC was starting to talk about, I remember Rompa Swami used to bring up, when he was chairperson in North America, succession. We need to start talking about succession. It's kind of like telling a 20-year-old, you need to start thinking you're only here temporarily, you're going to die. It's like, yeah, I got it. You know, academically, intellectually, I got it. But meanwhile, you know, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, and that's way, way in the future. So the future has arrived, and now we see GBC members, senior most disciples of Prabhupada. I just got a message yesterday, I forget the devotee's name. Another Prabhupada disciple passed away. We know just a few weeks ago, Sudharma Devi Dasi, you and I both worked with Sudharma. She was the first women's or Vaishnavi minister globally, and she was worked with the North American executive team, whatever name we had in those days, officer of North America for many years, also with Rompad Swami and Bir Krishna Maharaj and me. We kind of were rotating for some time, and some others also. So devotees are definitely passing away from this world. So I mentioned to some devotees yesterday, and they weren't aware. Just a little bit of an update. One of the primary goals of the GBC for the last 6 or 8 years has been to try to make what are becoming called contiguous zones. Like if we look as the example, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, his zone for the world, you can imagine this, if you were like a Coca-Cola distributor or lumber or steel or computers or something, your zone is all of West India, all of East Africa, which is probably bigger than the United States, Canada, and parts of Russia. That's very illogical zone, right? You have somebody for your company, you tell them, okay, you take East Chicago, or you take Wisconsin, or you take Kentucky. You don't take Kentucky, Alaska, Chile, and New Zealand, right? That would be like, what the heck is that all? How much time you spend changing time zones? So the GBC's been working on this. So in North America now, we're moving towards this system of 5 zones. That's what the North American GBC's got together and said it makes sense to have 5. Worked with the global GBC to establish 5. So there is moving towards a northeast zone, a southeast zone, a central zone, a northern zone, which is Canada plus a few plain states, and then the west. So some of those were already kind of together. The north zone was pretty much together. The southeast zone was pretty much together. The west was very much together. And the other two, northeast and central, were like a little confused. So like at some point in time as serving Prabhupada's GBC and the movement, just similar thing like with Gopal Krishna Maharaj, you get assigned different places. I was overseeing some like Washington, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and a few other temples there. Chicago, Naperville, St. Louis, Kansas City, Alachua, and some other temples in North. So it's like, well, where's that? So trying to move towards these contiguous zones. So at some point in time, Chicago, Naperville will all be part of the middle zone, which for now, officially Malati is the co-GBC here, and I'm the GBC for these temples. So at some point in time, that'll be evolving. We don't know who's going to be here in the Midwest. So it'll be me for some time. I'll definitely continue coming here till we, figure some other person out who can come and try to serve all of you by helping you in all of your preaching and development work. But we're moving towards those 5 zones. So if you hear this term contiguous, so trying to get that worked out. So a lot of time was spent on that. And I personally had a chance. Anybody been to Ayodhya here? Have you been? When did you go? Since the new temple opened? Oh, okay. So you have to go again. Yeah, so that new Ram temple opened in Ayodhya. So I had an opportunity to visit. That's a beautiful temple, a beautiful deity. The deity of Ram is said to be like 12, 14 years old. We normally think of Ram in ISKCON temples. Ram is the adult warrior king with Lakshmana and Sita and Hanuman there. So he's just there as like a young king. I don't know the history. Maybe that's some pradaya that is behind it. That's the particular way they worship Ram. But that was very, very beautiful. Also, shortly after that, there was a communications conference for the Indian devotees in Kanpur. In Mayapur, some of you may have seen, there is a small, old hospital, but just next to that, they're building a new hospital. I don't know the exact number of beds. I think I'm going to estimate about 100. And they're bringing in, they have big donors like corporations. I think they have like a MRI machine now and all those kind of things. So they're hoping to open, if not 2024, then 2025, which is very important because we're building a whole city. And we all know that, people get sick and people need to see doctors. So that's working. It's not going to be as large at this point as the Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Mumbai, which is a beautiful hospital. And they just recently added another 100 beds there. If you've been in Mumbai recently, they built a whole cancer ward in the basement. And like with cancer, you need wards, because they do radiation therapy. The walls, I think, are like 3, 4, 5 feet thick all the way around because they have to somehow keep in those kind of treatments. So just a few highlights. The hospital's opening. New growth, I mentioned, they're opening a brand new wing at that Mumbai hospital. They should be open by now. working on the 5 zones. Oh, something that's very exciting, everybody can look forward to. There's a new Nrsimhadev movie coming. Do you know about that? There's a devotee company in probably Mumbai, if I remember right. And for the last 4 years, they've been working on an animated movie, professionally done. If you can imagine, in India, they spent 4 million US dollars. That's a lot of rupees on this animated film. And I was able to see a trailer of it in Mayapur. And then later, just by some special mercy, got a chance to see the whole film. I think it's about 2 hours. And it's the whole story of Prahlad and Lord Nrsimhadev and, of course, Hiranyakashipu. And it's really well done. It's not, there's some devotional films out there that are a little cheesy. You know that word cheesy, right? They're a little cheesy. There's a few animated films that are double cheese, but this is very good. It's really professionally done. It's beautiful. And last time I heard, it was the man that produced it and his wife, the two of them did it together. Of course, a whole army of animators. I believe it's going to be launched at the end of this year. And it's a professional film, so they're working with distributors. And last time I heard that it's going to be opening in 2,000 theaters in India. They have a big splash opening. And hopefully it'll draw some attention. And of course, hopefully it'll evoke some people's devotion. But it's really well done. There's some of the scenes with, like Prahlad with Holika, and she's, got her demon teeth and all that. And she's saying, "No, Prahlad, come with me, sit on the fire." And he's like, I don't remember the exact lines, but he's like, "No, Auntie, this is not good. You'll be burned up." "No, Prahlad, don't worry. Ha, 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 ha." And Hiranyakashipu just wants to get rid of Prahlad. So she sits on the fire, and they start the fire. And she's sitting with this big smile on her face, and Prahlad is just meditating on Krishna. And things start getting hot for her. And then she realizes she's in trouble. She starts screaming, "Help me, help me, help me." And then the whole fire burns up, and Prahlad walks out. So it does things like that. And then later, Prahlad, his relationships with the Lord, and according to, the film shows at a certain point, he really manifests his full Krishna consciousness, and he's seeing Krishna everywhere, and it's beautifully done. Like he looks at the trees and he sees the Lord, and he looks in the clouds and he sees the Lord, and it's really, really very inspiring. So look forward to that. I don't know when it's going to hit the theaters here, but hopefully it'll be such a big splash in India that they'll give it a try here. We'll see what happens. And if you haven't heard, the GBC chairpersons this year, Guru Prasad Swami, his region is South, kind of Central America, including Mexico and some of the countries there. Also, Gopal Krishna Maharaj asked him to take care of his zone in India, at least until the Mayapur meetings in February. And then Tapan Mishra Prabhu, who's based in Mayapur, and Govardhan Prabhu, who is based in South Africa. Those are the 3 chairpersons this year. So that's just a little bit of an update, some of the things that are happening. Okay, so back to these exciting verses. Again, we're reading about how Shalva was hurling his torrents of weapons at the Lord. The Lord shot a bala dart. Anybody know what a bala dart is? Bhalla. It just says in the word for it, it's a special kind of arrow. Anybody expert on that? No, we'll have to get some martial arts experts to do some study what that was. And then the Lord, right, he pulled out his Sudarshan chakra. So, in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we know famous verse, right? Paritanaya sadunam vinasyata duskitam dharmasantapanayataye sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna says, in order to deliver the pious, annihilate the miscreants, and reestablish the principles of religion, I vent myself millennium after millennium. So this particular chapter, series of chapters here, we are hearing about the Lord's second mission. He's coming to kill the demons. And it's interesting, I remember in ISKCON's early years when we used to do a lot of plays, the most popular plays were killing the demons. And the most popular part everybody wanted to play was the demons, because it was so much easier to play a demon. I think we all just kind of related to the demon. He was arrogant, he was loud, he was sensuous, he was envious. All those things came very naturally. If you had to play Yudhisthira or Ram, it was like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's too boring. I can't do that. That's not my part. At least where I was in Denver, maybe we had more devotees of the lower modes of nature. Maybe here in Chicago, everybody wanted to be Ram. I don't know. Of course, for the girls, Sita was always very popular, right? All the girls wanted to play Sita. I don't think so many of them wanted to be Suparkana and all those different demoniac female demons. But anyway, so so we know those are big parts of the Lord's Leela. And when we read the Bhagavatam, it's very interesting because it seems to go back and forth. You read about some of the Lord's pastimes with his childhood parents. We read many, many, many chapters ago, and his pastimes with the gopis, which we understand to be the most intimate and the highest relationship. And now it's kind of like, you could almost think like back down to killing demons. And we're going to read in the next few verses about how this is just before the Kurukshetra war, and how Balaram kills Brahmaharshan Sutta, and then the sages, they say, please, you go on pilgrimage for a year. So during that time, the battle is there, because Balaram was a little bit favoring the Kauravas, so maybe there was some plan partly there. But in this section, particularly, it's talking about how Krishna is killing these demons. And some people, like if it was a Sunday feast class, probably at least half the room would wonder, like, how is this godly, right? I know once in a while when I travel, I'll stay in a hotel, and there's always a Bible in the drawer. And if you pull out the Bible to take a look at it, if you look in the Old Testament, there's a good chance you're going to open some place where God's cursing everybody. It's a lot. There's some war, and some king is killed, or this or that, or some treachery, some things like that. So in the Bhagavatam too, there's a lot of sections like this. And I remember hearing a story. Prabhu was, I don't remember the details, but Prabhu was somewhere, something went wrong, and he exhibited his anger, or perhaps he was criticizing some philosophy, some Mayavad philosophy. And he described that the people got very upset. Your spiritual master is a sadhu. You're supposed to be a sadhu. How has he got angry? How is that possible? He's supposed to be calm and peaceful, not disturbed by anything. But of course, we have the nice example when Prabhupada was in, I think it was the Mumbai Pandal, might have been one of the other big pandals, and devotees, the very first night, there was a wonderful kirtan, and devotees were so inspired that they began chanting. Of course, chanting's there. They began dancing on stage, and then they jumped off the stage, and they got everybody excited in the crowd. They all started dancing. So the second night, one of the organizers, he wanted to recreate, the drama, right? He wants to get everybody excited. So devotees were standing and chant. So he went over and started grabbing some of the devotees to pull them down the stage. And apparently he was kind of grabbing some of the ladies, their saris or whatever. So Prabhupada was sitting on his Vyasasana. He saw that. Prabhupada ran over with his kartal to hit the guy. You can't do that, One is my disciples. Two, it's a lady, it's a woman. Three, who do you think you are? But Prabhupada was fierce at that time. So what to speak of Prabhupada, Krishna, he's explaining this is his mission. So sometimes part of his mission is to annihilate miscreant elements. And it's interesting to see when you read these details, like everything else Krishna does is with a flair. Krishna doesn't do anything like ho-hum, right? Everything Krishna done is really exciting. So here this analogy is given when he cuts off the head of Shalya with the Sudarshan chakra. It's like the sun coming up over the mountain. And not only the sun, but it's saying the sun at the time of universal annihilation. It said the sun gets thousands of times brighter and stronger So that's the image that the author's using here to describe what is the nature of the Lord's activities and his behavior. So he is the supreme person. So everything he does wonderfully. You know, when he kills these demons, he arranges a very dramatic situation. And then, just like we're reading the end of this verse, the demigods are so happy, they play in their kettle drums. Just like sometimes there's like some really auspicious event and they, even like there's a wedding, right? They hire musicians. A lot of times they show up and they get a horse. The horse looks like, drop dead. The musicians look like they were up all night long at some other wedding. But the idea is originally it's exciting and people are inspired to hear the music and all that. So these demigods are so happy to see that this terrible demon has been killed. So they're playing their drums. They're very exciting. So just like we know in other of the Lord's Leela, like his pastimes with Yashoda, it's very wonderful. He does amazing, miraculous things. Like we in the Damodar month, we sing in a very different mood, but how Krishna arranges Mother Yashoda is upset with him. He's been naughty. He's stolen the butter. He's made some problems. So she's going to go tie him to the mortar. But the rope's 2 inches short. She gets more rope. It's 2 inches short. She gets more rope. It's 2 inches short. Not ordinary pastimes between a child and his mother. And of course, increases her anxiety to try to protect Krishna and increases her love for him. So it's not ordinary thing. He steals butter as a child. When the elder gopis come and complain to Mother Yashoda, there's that section in the Bhagavatam, they complain, and then she says, okay, I'll get him to stop. And then they say, no, don't get him to stop. It's too cute. But we just came to complain because we like to think about Krishna and talk about Krishna, but don't get him stopped. He's too cute. Don't stop him. But stop him. But don't stop him. It's amazing. And we read about other of the Lord's Leelas, his intimate relationships with the gopis, and how at the Ras Leela, I just read the other day again, it's described that each gopi was thinking Krishna is standing next to me. He manifests himself. So each gopi is thinking he's particularly reciprocating with me. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. But that's the nature of the Supreme Lord in his pastimes. And even then, we hear that before the Ras Leela, the Lord's with the gopis and he disappears from the gopis. Even from Radha, it's described, he disappears and he explains, I did that to increase your love for me and to increase your hankering for me and to completely purify your hearts. Just be completely full of devotion. So everything Krishna does, like I was thinking, who's a devotee? The big guy who rides the motorcycle, I think his name, with the beard. He was here this morning, came from Mangalarti. Mike. Okay, I was thinking Mike, but yeah, okay, Mike. So Mike was saying, I love the stories about Krishna. And I love to tell all my friends the stories about Krishna. And I was thinking, I'm so fond. When I first heard the stories about Krishna, I was like, I can't believe that. For me, it was too. Different people are inclined to different. But he's so attracted to the stories about Krishna. So as we get purified, all of us will see that these stories about Krishna are so wonderful. And that they're not just stories, but this is actually the pastimes. This is what happens in the spiritual realm. And everything that we are attracted to here, it's a reflection of that. So I was just going to ask everybody, whoever would like to share. We're hearing about the wonderful pastimes of how the Lord killed the demons, wonderful pastimes of the Lord with the gopis, wonderful pastimes of the Lord with Mother Yashoda. What's one pastime that you find particularly wonderful and attractive that endears your heart to the Lord? Subal Prabhu, you go first. When Lord Brahma steals the cowherd boys and the cows, you like that story? Yeah, and again, Krishna's mystic power. The cows disappear, the Gopas children disappear, and Krishna manifests exactly the same features of each one of them. And somehow or other, the parents, the cows, they're even more drawn to their children and they're not quite sure why. Because it's Krishna. Great. Prabhu, what's your favorite? Or one of your favorites? When he's killing Shishupal. In the what about that one? The way he tolerates all of those offenses? Yes. 97, 98, 99. Yeah. And the story behind that, everybody know the story behind that? Right? When he was born, somebody said he'll be killed by Krishna. So his mother went to Krishna and said, please, it's been predicted you'll kill my son. And he said, Mataji, don't worry, I will tolerate 100 offenses. So she was a little pacified. But eventually he hit 101, that was it. Yeah, nice. Very good. What's your other one? Yes. Kidnap him. Tie him up. Kidnap him. Yes. Krishna was asked by Yudhishthira to go and mediate some peace. One more try. And Duryodhana is such a rascal. He said, oh, but if I capture Krishna, then I'll definitely have the Pandavas defeated because I know how dear he is. And Krishna was like, come on, you fool. So he manifested his universal form. A different one, Prabhupada says, than what was, not Prabhupada, all the Acharyas say, than what was later shown on the battlefield, because Krishna tells Arjuna, no one has seen this before, but some aspect of that. Yeah, beautiful. Prabhu, you have a favorite pastime of the Lord's miraculous Leela that you're attracted to, or that you remember, or you like? When Krishna was born in the prison house, but somehow he miraculously escapes. He arranged that whole escape. Behind the closed doors, all the guards are asleep. It's a stormy night. Yes. Jayadratha. Yeah. And Krishna said, Arjuna, what are you, crazy? Why did you take that vow? And the Kauravas were thinking, now's our chance. We're definitely going to kill Arjuna now. So they put him way at right. They put Jayadratha way at the back. Arjuna had to fight through everything. Yes. Yeah. He sent his chakra to cover the sun. So everyone was looking to see, the sun's gone down. But then he removed the chakra, and then they could see actually the sun's still up. Yes. And then he shot his arrow. What happened to his head? Do you remember what happened to his head? Krishna's father's lap. Why did it fall in his father's lap? Yes. So Krishna knew that curse. So he told Arjuna, you kill him and send the head there. So all these amazing pastimes. Prabhu, tell us a pastime of the Lord's miracles. When he's saying Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's perplexed and Krishna pulls him out. He taught Arjuna, but he did in a way that the whole universe can be benefited. Nice. Beautiful. Prabhu, A pastime of the Lord. When Draupadi was brought into the kingdom, the palace of the Kauravas, Krishna sent unlimited sari length. It was Dushashan, right? So imagine how powerful he was. A big warrior like that, what's a little cloth, right? You pull it, you pull it, you pull it. I mean, but he got so exhausted, he had to stop. So Krishna manifested that. Yeah, all because Draupadi said, Krishna, I have no shelter but you. Yeah. It's described right at first she was trying to protect herself. And she realized, what can I do? I can't protect myself. Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. She had her pot, right? Could Akshay Patra that could feed any number of people, but as long as she hadn't eaten. But she'd already eaten. But Krishna said, no, 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 Mataji, just give me one grain. So she gave her one grain, and then all the sages were too hungry. They couldn't come back. They were embarrassed. Oh, they've done all these preparations for us. We have to leave. So Krishna protected them again. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So you like it when Krishna has these leelas like with Shava and with Agasura, where he appears to be surprised and amazed by his own potencies, and like with Shava, with it's described here, magician, how he used his magic to show that Krishna's father had appeared and looked like he was beheaded, and the Lord was like stunned by that. Same thing with Agasura, that he was thinking, oh, this big snake, and now the cowherd boys have walked into his mouth. What's going to happen? Yeah, Prabhu, he's in samadhi. He's deeply meditating. Which pastime is most inspired? We'll come back. Okay. So they all have so many wonderful pastimes. So I was thinking, like today, in the world around us, people are so attracted to they have their video games and the movies, and they're so attracted to this kind of stuff. Like, I don't know the term they use for these is shape. Well, we say like shape changing demons, right? Sometimes there's these demons like Putana, right? She's a big, grotesque demon, but she transformed herself into a beautifully attractive woman and came to feed Krishna. And all the other women of Vrindavan were so astounded by your beauty, they said, yeah, please, here's a child. You're so beautiful. Or with Trinavarta, right? He's a big demon, but he transformed himself into a whirlwind. So these kind of things are so popular in people's imagination these days. I don't know what they call them, but anytime I'm on a plane, they have all those movies, and people are always watching these movies with these cars that turn into, like, I can't tell which are the good guys or the bad guys, but they're cars, Transformers, right? Must be many, many movies about them. So they're cars, and then they're driving, and then they turn into some kind of like robot, big, big. And I guess there's good ones and bad ones because they seem to fight each other. So people, they like stuff like that, and they all think it's fun and it's exciting, but they all know it's not true. We have stuff like that, to use that common word, but it's true. It's like, at least we say it's true. The scripture says it's true, that it's beyond whatever they can imagine. They're actually, why are they attracted to those kind of things? That's an interesting question as people philosophize. Well, why are you attracted to these shape changing demons? Why? Because there are some. Why are you attracted to heroes that show up just at the nick of time and turn things around? Well, because there is one hero like that. Why are you attracted to these imaginary stories where even the hero seems bewildered sometimes, but somehow he kind of regains his sense of composure? Well, we say because it's all a reflection of the original Supreme Personality of God. No, other people, there are other theories that say no, ultimately everything is void. But why void? Prabhupada mentioned so many times there's no void in all of Krishna's creation. Why void? How can it be void if we're attracted to so many things? But sometimes people think, well, I watch those movies, I eat the popcorn, I binge, right? That's the topic these days, right? You stay at home and you binge it. You download all the movies hour after hour after hour. You can watch all the Transformer movies. And at the end of it, you're just tired. You just kind of want to go to sleep. So we're reading about these just amazing stories. Shalva's ship, the mystic powers he had, he can disappear and he can reappear. And there's all these different attempts to try to mimic that in this day and age. But Krishna, we're hearing, is so powerful that he comes in the real situation. He comes just like in this modern day. There's so many really bad people out there, I live in Washington, D.C., it's almost like once a week. I just heard it on the radio the other day. Turn on the radio, check the weather, and you get like, here's the news. 4 people were killed on such and such side of town, including a 4-year-old child who was hit as a bystander. It's like, what? It's not like once a year. It's like all the time. I'm sure Chicago has similar stories like that. Lots. So, okay, in one sense, those are unfortunate, misled people that were grown up, maybe without a father, or their mother had so many issues or drugs or this or that. Okay, granted that they're acting in really evil ways. Those are evil things to do. Innocent people get shot and killed. So sometimes you need the good guys to step in and set the situation straight. Unfortunately, this day and age, a lot of times the so-called good guys are also bad guys. You hear about that all the time, like crooked cops, right? The cop's like a really good guy. Just, again, some other story the other day. Some cop was supposed to be saving somebody, and he exploited the woman that he was supposedly there to protect. So it's like even the good guys are bad guys. But in Christian consciousness, we actually have faith that there's a good guy, ultimately Krishna, Krishna's expansions, Krishna's representatives, Krishna's messengers, and they actually come to give us knowledge how we can resolve all the problems of life and how we can be protected from these demoniac elements and evil elements. So what's the message to us, just kind of in conclusion here? One thing is the message to people. They like excitement. They want to see these movies. They want to play these video games. And there's always a new video game coming out with like a new, more far out kind of monster with new mystic powers. Like, okay, great. You like excitement? There's nobody more exciting than Krishna. That's our claim. There's nobody more exciting. And on the other side, sometimes people are feeling there's so much negativity in the world. Who will protect us, right? And we put our faith in some person, a husband who lets us down, or an army that, goes to the dark side, or a policeman that gets corrupted, or who can really protect us? Well, we say Krishna. The Shastra says Krishna. And, people, they eventually get tired of all these mundane things. So we say, well, connect with Krishna. It doesn't get tiring. It's like last night I went with devotees to, what do they call this? Third moon night or something. So there are a lot of people like basically juggling fire. Anybody been there? They rope off this area. There's pretty big crowds, maybe like 1,000 people. There are a couple thousand people. I think they do it every full moon night. And as it's getting dark, there's all these people with like long bars and fire on the end. And it's kind of cool for a while to watch it. And there's so many people there singing, there's beautiful girls, there's handsome men, there's a lot of people. They went there with their friends. I was kind of noticing, these 2 guys are friends. And, okay, what do we do tonight? And these young women, they're friends. What do we do tonight? Yeah, let's go check out that thing. And then there's like a lot of gay people and lesbian people, which is interesting because they're trying to do such exotic stuff. I was at the Barcelona temple the other day. Barcelona temple is like off a main street, which is just a party street. It's in a plaza, which is the one plaza. It's just like bar, restaurant, bar, restaurant, bar, restaurant. And the temple is like a little door in the back. You open up this door and you climb up the stairs. You go in another door. So like I open the outside door, you're like trying to find where's the door to the temple. It's between this bar and that, literally between this bar and that bar. You got to like walk around the tables to find the temple. And I opened the door and there was this guy there in drag. And I've seen pictures of guys in drag. I've never like been a foot away. And he had like garters and like, short shorts on and long eyelashes and all kinds of different stuff. And I should have sent something to him like, would you like a Hare Krishna book or something? But we just got like in passing. And I was just thinking, they go to such extremes to try to find pleasure. It's like sex didn't satisfy you, so maybe homosexual satisfy, and that doesn't satisfy you, so maybe in drag will satisfy, and that doesn't satisfy, so maybe in drag, really exotic drag. And it's like last night, I thought, okay, these friends are here. If you can see on their face, a couple guys sitting, it's like they're bored. They had nothing to do. They're looking for something. Maybe we'll meet that perfect girl tonight, or maybe this will be like a really exciting show. For the families to think, well, maybe this will keep our kids happy, really actually make our kids happy. It does for a short time, Or, the kids, like, there's always a new toy with the kids. So because they're throwing fire, there's kids there with these like long batons, and it's pink and blue and green and, kind of cool. So you play with it for 10 minutes and then it's boring. Isn't it? It's like everything else in this material world. You play with it for 10 minutes and it's boring. So at the end of it all, I mean, I came home before them. It's just, I was looking around thinking, it looks so exciting. It's a mode of passion. Like, yeah, party. At the end of all, they're all tired and it didn't satisfy them. And let's go home and maybe there's something tomorrow night that'll be better. Night after night, week after week, month after month, year after year. Meanwhile, tick, 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 time is going by. There's the guys with the there was like a guy with long gray hair that was dyed pink and blue. And I was thinking, how many years you been trying that? I can see you're 20. Okay, let's dye my hair pink and blue. Maybe that'll be cool and make me satisfied. But you're like 60 years old. Haven't you figured out yet that dyeing your hair pink and blue doesn't really make you happy? Why don't you look for something else? But they're looking. And that's why, it was reminding me of the park. It was right by the beach. I don't know where. But it was very much reminding me of Prabhupada going to Tompkins Square Park and Prabhupada going to San Francisco, Hippie Hill and the first Rath Yatra. There's a lot of young people, and they've got strong senses, and the girls are gorgeous, and the men are strong and virile and looking attractive, and everybody's all excited. It's like, wow, the coolest, newest thing. But I remember Prabhupada went to there was some event, it was in anticipation, they were protesting, like LSD had just been made illegal or something. And in the Leelamrita, Satsrupa Maharaj describes how there was actually nothing happening. It was kind of a boring event. And then the devotees showed up and started the kirtan. And then that kind of, in that situation, became the center of what was happening. Because they're all looking for something. So that's our understanding is everybody's looking for something. But they're just looking in the wrong place. So that's why we're so grateful that Prabhupada came, or we would still be looking in the wrong place. And to try to satisfy him, we try to make this temple as clean as possible, as attractive as possible, dress the deities as they always are here so beautifully. I was so pleased to walk in the Bajari room. I told Mataji, your head Bajari, I said, this is one of the cleanest Bajari rooms I've seen. There's always room for improvement, but those things, it's important. These whatever our service is, to try to do it in the mood of, let me try to help Prabhupada, help make our movement stronger, to give an opportunity for people that taste Krishna consciousness. And just, I would encourage everybody, you're all busy and we're always shorthanded. It's just the nature, but try to find time also to, go out with the Harinam, or go out distributing books, or go out and, interact with people, go one of these programs. I think they do it every month. And, sit and chant or distribute books, or be nice to bring prasadam to this program. They didn't have much prasadam last night, but, it's a chance. I met somebody sitting right there when I gave class on Sunday. Damon, I think is his name. Tall guy, kind of wide or Eastern European or something, whatever. And he was saying how he'd seen devotees 20 years ago, but he was someplace recently and he heard drums and he was attracted. And then he got closer and he heard cymbals. And he thought, is that the Hare Krishnas? And he followed, he went over. He said he hadn't really seen devotees for years. But he went over, heard the devotees, saw the devotees, talked to devotees, and somehow now he's coming here every week. Because we were out there, gave him that opportunity. And I was thinking about Prabhupada. I mean, one of the miracle of miracles, the way Prabhupada went to Russia for 3 days, they basically wouldn't let him out of his room. If he wanted to go out, he could only go on a government-escorted tour. He could only speak to that one professor. He asked, can I talk to others, to the students? No, Swami. Can I speak to the other faculty? No, Swami. This is it. It's like us in this little room. I mean, talk about limitations. But Krishna arranged for that one devotee to come, that one young man who became a devotee from there. Today, thousands of devotees in Russia. Prabhupada only went there one time. Of course, then they snuck in books and did so many things. But talk about miracles. But all because of that touch of the devotees. So we should never minimize. We may be on Harinam and we're thinking, there's nobody here that knows how to play drum. Nobody knows how to play kartals. They're singing out of tune. Of course, we want to do better than that. We want to have people that play kartals and sing in tune as best we can. But even if we don't know what effect it's having on people. We really, really don't. We have no idea. I was in high school and some devotees, Krishna devotees, came to my school. I have no idea what they said. I don't remember anything other than the girls all had rings in their noses. Their style back then. Remember that? They had like big rings. That was really wild. But somehow or other touched people's hearts and it makes a difference. So we should never think it's not making a difference. You know, the person that walks by, there's probably people walk by this temple 100 times thinking, well, you know, hopefully thinking, they always keep it so nice looking, it looks friendly. The people smile to me when I walk by. I should go in there someday, you know. And then they walk in, it's like, wow, this is so beautiful. What is this all about? And they get a little prashadam, and next thing you know, they're taking beads home. I mean, it happens. Some people, of course, it takes a long time, but it happens. We shouldn't, in our minds, minimize the effect. And any little thing we can do to reach out. Every little thing, whatever it is that we can do makes a difference. So I'll stop there. It's after 8:30. Any questions or comments anybody would like to make? Yes, Subal Prabhu.
Thank you, Anuttama Prabhu. I was just thinking that, you know, Krishna, you brought up how he builds up these amazing dramatics
Yeah.
displays that, you know, is just so incredibly described by our Vaishnava Acharyas, in this case, Srila Sukadev Goswami. I mean, he very easily can just do it like, and then poof, everything, just clip his fingers and then Shalva is disintegrates. And no much effort, no much drama, no much thing. But he does it in this amazing lila, very, very dramatic, very extraordinary. So, in one sense, you know, you explain that he does that for because people are attracted to this type of thing. It's in order to bring the attention of people who sees heroes, who sees these displays, who sees these situations in which our hero may be in trouble, but then he raises and then boom, manifests this incredible power. So the whole drama is very important for attracting the conditioned souls to Krishna as the greatest of all heroes. And so the choreography, the presentation, the quality, everything matters in Krishna's presentation, Krishna's lila. And sometimes we hear, as we trying to present Krishna consciousness to the world, that is in a very attractive manner, that we have to make sure not to try to focus too much on pleasing the crowd.
I'm pleasing the crowd. Yeah.
But nevertheless, in the other hand, we see that the presentation is very important. It's very, very important to really attract people. If we have a very poor presentation or something that is not really thoughtfully and carefully put together, like Krishna does, then we're limiting our capacity. So, what can you say about that? You mean you deal with that as a
Prabhupada was the
limiting?
ultimate crowd pleaser. I think Prabhupada makes the point because, Prabhupada often would say contradictory things, but that's because of his infinite wisdom. It's like I go to the doctor, and probably these days they would tell me, lose weight. Okay? Somebody else goes to the doctor and they say, gain weight. Somebody goes to the doctor and they say, stay out of the sun. The next person, they say, you need more sun. Somebody else, they say, you got to get off the couch and do more. And the next person, they say, you're overactive, you're stressing yourself out, you got to kick back and relax a little bit, right? So you may think, well, this doctor's nuts because he or she's changing their formula. But according to the situation, they're giving infinite instructions. So Prabhupada would many times say things like, we don't care about public opinion. What he's saying is, we're not going to compromise our core principles according to what the public likes: illicit sex, intoxication, meeting, and gambling. We're not going to compromise those things. And at the same time, if somebody might misinterpret that and think, well, that means we don't care to please the crowd. Prabhupada told Mukunda Maharaj, first dress, then address. Well, that's all about pleasing the crowd. Prabhupada brought back his white dancing elephants to India. That's all about pleasing the crowd. Prabhupada was really happy with Shyamsundar when he put up his big air balloons over the city of, I think, Mumbai, just said Hare Krishna, because people were so excited. And that's like marketing. One of these days somebody's going to write a chapter in marketing about what the Hare Krishnas did in the early days. So Prabhupada was very, very much interested in attracting people's attention. The whole Rath Yatra, it's Lord Jagannath's pastime, but at the same time, it's down Fifth Avenue with 40-foot carts that go up and down under the wires. And say, like in more contemporary times, like Indra Swami is one example with his big puppets. I've seen some of those. They have heads like 4 feet high, just to help please people. Prabhupada told George Harrison, keep writing songs about Krishna. George asked him, should I shave my head and move in the temple and be a regular devotee? Prabhupada said, why would you want to do that? You're attracting so many people to Krishna. Keep playing your guitar and keep writing songs about Krishna. And those songs are, they're not necessarily of the same potency, you could say, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's level of realization. But Prabhupada said, no, you're a crowd pleaser, George. Don't stop that. There's one lecture. It's in we refer to it in the ISKCON leadership course, where Prabhupada is saying it's not you become a devotee and now you don't care about material things. He's explaining the word daksha, expert. The devotee is meant to be expert, not that you become a devotee and now you don't care. This is all material. He said, I remember he uses this expression. I repeatedly had said, what is material? For devotee, there's nothing material. These temples are Vaikuntha. So you have to maintain the temple for Krishna. That's a crowd pleaser. In one sense, it's okay, we're doing it for the Lord. But the Lord only needs, he's very kind. He's willing to take a little corner. He doesn't need the big building. Who's the building for? The building's for other people. So it's crowd pleasers. So that's very much part of what we're supposed to do. We don't compromise what we do and who we are, but we think in terms of ways that will attract people. You look at Prabhupada's books. It's pretty amazing. that's going to go against my example. No, here it is. I mean, this is probably, I don't know, publishing, but my guess is this is the most expensive part of the book completely. All these color plates, glossy paper, in the midst of just some simple black and white text. But that, why are we doing that? Because Prabhupada wanted it like that. Prabhupada wanted so many paintings as windows to attract people. So that's crowd pleaser. People be attracted. So, so many examples. In Radhadesh's devotee Mahaprabhu, who created this Moza, Museum of Sacred Art. And he's had, I don't know, 10 different, displays, hundreds of pieces of work, 10 of those with hundreds of pieces. And now in Florence, Italy, all to attract people to Krishna. And they may come because they're interested in so many different things. But we attract people to Krishna. So there's a lot of examples. It's not dry. Spiritual life's not dry. I mean, I mentioned the Sunday feast. You go to most, even Vaishnava temples, you go in India, they give you a little prasad, right? A little bit of prasad. You come here, it's like we get out the big scoop. Why? Because we want to attract people to Krishna. We want to please people. And we know a lot of people come, like they only come to eat. That's okay, just eat. Fine, eat your way back to Godhead, right? We used to talk about that, eat your way back to Godhead. So that's crowd pleaser. Just like last night, I was talking at this event, I was mentioning to the devotees that we're not here for ourselves. We can stay in the temple. We can have much nicer quality bhajans here in front of the deities with finely tuned sound equipment and no distractions with all these materialistic people that, smell the marijuana's moving by and people totally on the bodily platform of life all around you. It's much easier for us to think about Krishna here, but we go there for them. So, and what's interesting is when you go there for them, you become more happy in your relationship with Krishna, because that's what Lord Chaitanya wants us to do, go out there for them. So is that okay? So many examples, isn't it? Just so many, 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 many examples. Prabhu?
I always remember one phrase, Prabhupada, or we're not here to take association, we're here to give association.
Nice.
So, it always resonated,
Yeah. We're not here to take associate, we're here to give. Yeah. Prabhupada came to a crazy place, right? Like that prayer in Boston. My dear Lord, I don't know why you brought me to this horrible place, but you must have some purpose. So let me be an instrument in that purpose. So like that.
You didn't know where to turn, right?
Yeah. He got off the boat. Do I turn left? Do I turn right?
And then in Butler, Pennsylvania, that was one of the first places, right? So we just had the Trump thing there.
Yeah, it's interesting that was in that same place, huh?
Yeah, such a small place, but north of Pittsburgh, I believe.
Yeah, an hour somewhere. Home of the Jeep. Remember that, Leela Amrita? Welcome to Butler, Pennsylvania. That's where they invented the Jeep in the World War I or II or something. Yeah.
Willie's Jeep. They call it WILYS or something.
Okay.
1944, I think.
So that's where it came from. Butler. That's their claim. That, and now that's where Prabhupada went. Much more important.
That's where we got these pews from a church that was closing in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Really?
And we got 16 of them.
No kidding.
They were closing the church down. There was only like 4 members left in the congregation. They all passed away.
So these benches came from Butler. So you're all intimately connected with Prabhupada in yet another way.
In the Catholic Church, we call them pews.
Yeah. They're very good too. They're very nice. One thing I noticed, so when whoever cleans them, the back sides we got to clean once in a while too. I put my hand up on one of the ones over here. I grab that part that goes up. It's like, ooh, all sticky. It hadn't been cleaned in a while. So
sometimes I find gum there.
Hopefully from the church days. Okay, so we should stop. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for so sincerely serving Kishore Kishori and spreading their name and fame all over Chicagoland. Shri Prabhupada ki.